Hello, welcome to our next video presentation by Mayer's Teaching Institute on the classification of plants. This topic, in terms of the characteristics of plants that we will be discussing, will predominantly be suitable for students of schools. Colleges and university level studying will require more depth for the classification. However, it can be applied to college students who still feel that the basics are weak, and this introductory classification to plants would be pivotal for them to understand at higher levels. Thus, I will be just focusing a very short amount of this presentation on the general classification of organisms, a little detailed classification about plants, and about the characteristics in the various divisions that are there under plants. Now, as we start, this was the first general classification given by Dr. R.H. Whitaker as a classification of living organisms when he gave the five kingdoms. The five kingdom classification, as very well known, is about the kingdom Monera, Protista, fungi, plantae, and animalia. In my very next video, I will be talking about the classifications of kingdom Animalia. However, for now, we'll be focusing on kingdom Plantae. This is the classification of kingdom Plantae. So the criteria involved in the classification of the kingdom Plantae would be something like this. First, the presence or absence of organs was the first criteria for the classification of plants. The presence or absence of separate conducting tissues for conducting water and food was the next under consideration. Whether the seeds are enclosed in a fruit or not became another criteria. And depending further, the cotyledon number, dicotyledon or monocotyledon, became a further criteria. At higher levels of plant classification, different characteristics are considered for classification. For example, depending on the presence or absence of flowers, fruits, seeds, plants are classified as cryptogams and phanerogams. Depending on whether the seeds are enclosed within a fruit or not, the phanerogams are classified as gymnosperms and angiosperms. The angiosperms further get classified as monocots or dicots depending on the number of cotyledons in the seed. So this is something about the various criteria in which this whole classification that has been shown on this video about the cryptogams into the thallophyta, bryophyta, pteridophyta, the gymnosperms, angiosperms, and how the angiosperms have the dicots and the monocots. We will look at this in a little evolutionary point of view as how even these plant community or the plant kingdom actually evolved over a period of time. Having done evolution in my previous video presentation, it is important to know that plants succeeding with animals all show a certain trend in their evolutionary pathway, and therefore we can use the classification as one approach to understand evolution. Starting with the cryptogams are those which produce spores but do not bear any flower or seed. Therefore, the word cryptogam means hidden reproduction, as in the more of a sort of no flower that shows any fancy approach about having its reproductory methods. And also because obviously there's no flower, there is no seed bearing in these plants, and therefore there are three major divisions: are the thallophyta, bryophyta, and pteridophyta. The thallophyta most consists of algae like Spirogyra, Alva, Sargassums, etc. And the bryophyta consists of moss, Rixia, etc. Pteridophytas, Pteris, Nephrolepis, etc. So let's get a little bit into the classification onto the characteristics rather of each of these subdivisions or each of these divisions under the cryptogams. Division 1 is the thallophyta, and I've put all these three divisions a little bit as on the table that you can see is a classification or a sort of a distinguishing criteria. Now let's talk about the thallophyta. So these plants mainly grow in water. This group of plants do not have specific parts like root, stem, leaves, flowers, but they are autotrophic due to the presence of chlorophyll, and thus are also called as algae. However, algae show great diversity. They may be unicellular or multicellular, and microscopic or large. For examples of algae are Spirogyra, Alva, Sargassums, etc. Some of these are found in fresh water and some of these are found in saline. These plants usually have a soft fiber-like body. Various types of fungi like yeast and molds which do not have chlorophyll are also included under the group of Thallophyta. Moving next, Bryophyta. This group of plants is also called as the amphibians of the plant kingdom because they grow in moist soil but need water for reproduction. These plants are thalloid, multicellular, and autotrophic. They reproduce by spore formation. The structure of the plant body of bryophytes is flat, ribbon-like, without true root stem leaves. Instead, they have root-like, leaf-like, and stem-like rhizoids. They do not have any tissues for conduction of food and water. Some of their examples would include the moss like Phaneria, Rixia, etc. Pteridophyta. Plants of this group have well-developed root stem leaves, separate tissues for conduction of food and water, but however, they still do not bear flowers and fruits. They reproduce with the help of spores, and which are present or formed along the back and posterior surface of their leaves. For example, like in ferns, like Nephrolepis, Pteris, etc. These plants reproduce asexually by spore formation and some of them sexually by zygote formation, and they are known for the well-developed conducting systems. So as you observe, you see first, from being completely water plants to being amphibious to becoming land-bearing plants, to not having suitable root stem leaf to having root-like, stem-like, leaf-like rhizoids, and then eventually having well-developed root stem leaves. Then not having any tissues for conduction in the first two, but then eventually having separate tissues for food and water. Having asexual modes of reproduction, Pteridophyta finally shows some of them which can show sexually zygote formation. So we see that they are moving towards an evolutionary approach. There are changes that have been occurring in the plants under the cryptogams itself. Then as we move on to the phanerogams, there is a further approach that comes to this. The phanerogams have special structures for reproduction and produce seeds which are called as phanerogams. Therefore, the word phanerogams actually means to have reproductive capacity and produce seeds. In these plants, after reproduction, the seeds are formed which contain embryos and stored food. During germination of the seed, the stored food is usually for the initial growth of the embryo. Depending on whether the seeds are enclosed in a fruit or not, the phanerogams are classified as gymnosperms and angiosperms. Now, when we talk about the gymnosperms, you can see there are wonderful examples like the Christmas tree or the Pinus deodar tree. And under dicotyledon and monocotyledon, there are a large number of other plants that come in, which we'll talk about separately on another slide. So let's go into a little detail of gymnosperms exclusively. So gymnosperms. I've made this whole classification like a little distinguished. So gymnosperms, mostly evergreen, perennial and woody. Their stems are without branches. Their leaves form a crown. These plants bear male and female flowers on different sporophylls of the same plant. Seeds of these plants do not have natural coverings. That is, these plants do not form fruits, and therefore the seeds are naked. And that is the meaning of gymnosperms, naked seeds. For example, the Christmas tree and deodar tree. In angiosperms, the flowers of these plants bear reproductive organs. Flowers develop into fruits and seeds are formed within the fruit. The seeds are covered within the fruit and hence they are called as angiosperms. That means covered seeds. The plants whose seeds can be divided into two equal halves are called dicotyledon, and those which cannot be further divided into equal parts are called as monocotyledonous plants. So understanding both the categories of dicotyledons and monocotyledons in a little classified way, you can look at it like each point is actually a proper classification. Dicotyledon means seed with two cotyledons, monocotyledon seed with a single monocotyledon. Primary taproot system in dicotyledons, monocotyledons have a fibrous root system. Stems in the dicotyledons are hard, and therefore banyan tree is under the examples of this. However, the stems in monocotyledonous plants would be either hollow, false, or disc-like. If it's hollow, the example would be something like bamboo. False-like would be something like banana, and disc-like would be something like an onion. The venation in the leaves: reticulate venation in dicotyledon, parallel venation in monocotyledon. The flowers bear tetrameris or pentameris flowers in dicotyledons, means they have either 4 or 5 and the multiples of 4 or 5 petals in the flowers, and monocotyledons in 3s or multiples of 3 for their number of petals. Now, just to make you understand a little bit more, I've given you a little bit of imaging for what is the meaning of fibrous and taproots and what is the meaning of reticulate and parallel venation. So you can look here, parallel venation, all the veins along the leaves are kind of in parallel lines, whereas in reticulate, they have a little set of branching. And if I talk about the root system, you can see the taproot forms a very narrow, thin branch in the main center and smaller other branches at the side, whereas fibrous root system spreads over a vast area. Taproots are found to go more deeper and fibrous roots found to grip the soil better. Anyways, with this, we are on the end of the classification of plants. I do hope you like this video presentation. Please do like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Hoping for more support from you all. Thank you so much for the recent subscriptions and the views on all my presentations. Thank you.